We are excited to be launching our next podcast series, which is interviewing Golden Hoodie winners from around the world who've got amazing trailblazer stories. A Golden Hoodie winner is somebody that Salesforce has recognised as being a true trailblazer, somebody who gives back but also is an expert in their domain. And we can't wait to share these stories with you. Tune in, listen, and be inspired at these amazing stories and give them kudos on social media for everything they've done. And what I would recommend is definitely tune in and follow in their footsteps. Enjoy, and we look forward to getting your feedback.
If your leadership team is pushing you to deploy Agentforce yesterday, you already know the real challenge isn't the AI itself, it's the environment you're building it on. To orchestrate autonomous workflows, you need to feed your agents deep, flawless context about your metadata and business processes. That's why Hubble created the intelligence layer. We give you total operational clarity, telling you exactly how to clean up and structure your org so your AI actually works. Stop guessing. Build Agentforce with absolute confidence at hubble.com.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode on the Mums on Cloud9 podcast. Delighted to have you here listening with us today as we continue our series of interviewing Golden Hoodie winners. As always, they're hugely inspirational individuals that have really carved out their career in the Salesforce ecosystem and gone on to do amazing things, which has given them the accolade of the Golden Hoodie. So today I'm delighted to introduce you to Kaelan Moss, who is based over in the USA, and he's going to share his story about why he got his Golden Hoodie at the Marketing Cloud Connections event in June 23. So Kaelan, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here today. Please do tell the audience a little bit about your backstory of getting your Golden Hoodie.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Heather. I am basically the guy that never thought he would be in tech. Honestly, I grew up an athlete that was just outside all the time. And I actually remember telling somebody in college, yeah, I don't know if I'll do anything except for running track and just, being a coach and things like that. And then next thing you know, I find myself doing a data science degree and then hearing about Salesforce and jumping headfirst into the Salesforce ecosystem in 2017. After that, kind of got my hands dirty doing a little bit of training and teaching people. And that bug never left me. So as I, kept learning Salesforce, I just kept on teaching, making videos on YouTube, writing articles on my website, Minute Admin. And then that just progressed naturally. And then around 2020, when COVID hit, I got super close with my family again, just, after moving back from college and, just living in different cities. Fast forward, COVID happens. I moved back around my family, back in with my family, actually. I sold everything that I owned. I literally had a guitar, a suitcase, and my car because I was going to go travel South America. And then COVID happened. And so I was like, well, I can't go there. So I moved back to Tulsa, Oklahoma with my mom, sister, brother, and we were gutting it out through COVID. And then basically I guess I can also say I lost my job right before COVID. During COVID, I wasn't necessarily working a traditional job, but I was studying to become a marketing cloud instructor, teaching my mom and sister and brother at that time as my students. And basically, I ended up getting a position as an instructor and then eventually started teaching different cohorts of students how to learn Marketing Cloud, was training them, teaching them their journey on, helping them transition from different careers and start a Marketing Cloud career. Led hundreds of people into the Salesforce ecosystem doing that. But my most proud moment is really helping my mom and sister learn Marketing Cloud. I ended up taking them saying, hey, we can all live together for this year of COVID. And I know I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but all of this is happening sequentially or pretty much at the same time. While I'm instructing all these students, I'm also living with my mom and my sister at this time and teaching them Marketing Cloud, teaching these students Marketing Cloud, and basically just going through that process and just refining myself really. Fast forward about a year later, I write an article about just my journey of how I basically took my mom and my sister in. It's not like I took them in off the street, but it's like, they were living in their own place. I was living in mine. And I basically told my mom and sister, hey, you don't have to pay any bills for a year during the COVID year. I'll pay all the bills. I just want you to learn Marketing Cloud. And so I taught it to them during that year and then wrote an article about it probably about a year or so afterwards, maybe probably 2 years later. Story kind of got around. It was definitely my most popular LinkedIn message. And it got picked up. And I think really just being authentic, just sharing from my heart, my story. I really just wanted to share that story to inspire somebody else to maybe they have a family member, maybe they have someone they know who could use Salesforce as a career transition and that might inspire them. And that got picked up. It was just an authentic message. And basically got approached to say, hey, we want to hear your story from Salesforce, and then told that story, got invited to speak that story at Salesforce Connections. And, unbeknownst to me, didn't have any idea. But I got the Golden Hoodie at Salesforce Connections in 2023. So it all really just happened, just me just serving the community. I wish I could say it was just this one magical moment and it was just all of a sudden I won the Golden Hoodie, but it was years of just helping people in the community, helping my family, just really just writing about my experience, writing about the journey. And then somebody listened and they said that that was an amazing story that needed to be shared with other people, and essentially basically awarded for my hard work and perseverance. So yeah, hopefully that kind of wraps it up in a nutshell, sort
Yeah.
of my journey to, Golden Hoodie.
I love that, Kaelan. Thank you. It's interesting the ripple effect, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
marketing hat on. It's the ripple effects, that word of mouth, and certainly we see that at Supermums all the time. So obviously your story and what you did resonates with us hugely because it is all about empowering mums to have those flexible, well-paid careers. So I love it that you upskilled your mum.
Yep.
But in terms of the ripple effect, we see that 60% of people that come to Supermums, it's their wife or the sister or the auntie. And it is about telling and sharing what you do with the family. To start with, they might be like, oh, I'm not going to get this. I don't get it at all. How did you get your mum and your sister to listen to you and actually take it on board and transition? Because I think that's what people really struggle with is like you can see the opportunity, but how do you get them to see the opportunity? How did you get them hooked onto like, yeah, I'm going to sit and listen to you?
A lot of tough love. Let's just say that. No, but I would say really, I think they just saw my discipline. It's whenever you live with somebody and you see their daily actions, on a daily basis, they see you're showing up for work. They see you're studying for a certification. They're not just seeing the results, right? You could see somebody with a nice car or, a certain lifestyle, but you don't know how you don't know that they wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, or they wake up and they just get straight to work every single day. And, you don't see that journey, that process. But when you live with somebody, you get to actually be exposed to that, right? You see how they talk to themselves. You see how they treat other people. You see what they eat every day. You see why they're doing certain things, right? And everything that I do, I believe, has a purpose. And just being around my family and living with them. And I hadn't lived with my mom and my sister since high school. I lived with my dad, and I didn't necessarily, my sisters and my mom weren't exposed to my train of thought as much. And I won a state championship in the long jump in high school. I went on to be on Team USA for track and field for the long jump in college. And so there was a lot that they kind of didn't live with whenever I was in high school and college, that they, like just the way that I tick, the way that I work every day. And I think living with them after all of that, right? Like after college is over, I had already been working for 2 years or 3 years really in the Salesforce ecosystem. COVID happened. All of that accumulated Kaelan, so to speak, right, was brought back to them. And they were essentially like, they got to see it on a day-to-day basis. So I think just being an example on a day-to-day basis, it didn't happen overnight, right? Like they heard that, I was doing well and I was working remote and I was, moving up in my career. But it's only so much to see. Whereas whenever you get to live with somebody, you get to see those daily actions of what makes this person disciplined, what makes this person tick. And it really was only after probably, I would say, a while that they were like, okay, I really need to lock in. I really need to focus. I really need to like dedicate myself to this. Cause at first it was like, I'm going to dabble in it a little bit here and there. But after a while, you just kind of get to know somebody. And I think you just pick things up from those people that you're around. And so I really, once again, I wish I could say it was just a drop in the hat moment and it just happened. And, but it was a lot of conversations. It was a lot of just me continuing to show up. And it's just like every journey in life, right? You didn't build super mums just automatically, right? It's a lot of hard days. It's a lot of getting over challenges. It's a lot of just discipline. And you were just dedicated to making something. And eventually one day you look up and it's like, wow, but look what I've built, right? And so, yeah, anyone who's accomplished anything knows that's the real journey. It's a lot of hard days. It's a lot of, I don't know if it's going to happen. And it ends up happening if you keep going.
It's lovely. I mean, it's lovely to hear your story, Kaelan, because I suppose one question is, do you need another sister?
Right? Yeah. I've got 3 total sisters. I'm about to get married and I'll have 2 more. So, yeah.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And I think the reason I asked that was I was hoping to move in and have free rent for a year. But anyway,
Right.
but I think your story absolutely will resonate with so many people, because I think, you've actually seen something that your family can do, and you've shared your community, you've shared your mission to be able to, for them to be able to do Marketing Cloud, and as you said, from that they've gone on to have careers out of it. So I think it's really great to hear that, and when you're talking about that, when you're building the content and you're building the community, and like you said, you're doing it from your heart, which is always great to hear. What problems are you trying to solve? What's in terms of your background?
Yeah, really, that's a great question. The problem that I'm trying to solve really is there's 2 problems. So number one is I want to give people an option to choose either if you want to go down the traditional route of, traditional education, which we were all taught that, once you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a degree. But we're seeing more and more, especially in the AI era, that might not be the best option for certain people, right? And so I always kind of had that thought that, I took a little bit too many student loans out while I was in college, and ended up having to pay that money back with my first job, and was very disciplined about it, but also kind of saw how that in a way prevented me from living my life to the fullest, because I was paying down this student loan debt. And I couldn't even imagine and I was on scholarship. I couldn't even imagine somebody who is not on any scholarship in school, who doesn't have anybody to give them any money, and they're trying to make it. And they have one way, it's just college, and they end up in a degree that doesn't even afford them the ability to have a full-time job, right? And then I see you can go over here and learn on Trailhead, or you can open up a developer edition org, and you can practice a skill that within 6 months, you get your hands dirty. You are in it every single day, a year max, right? Like you can do a volunteer project and you can go in and you can make a very good living, right? And whether you want to work remote, hybrid, 100% in the office, it's your choice, really. And so I want to give people that option. And for me, it really stems from the fact that kind of growing up, my parents had me in high school. So I had a very good support group. Like I had both sets of grandparents. I had aunts and uncles. We all lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had my mom and dad in my life. And yet it was still difficult for my parents, right? I mean, they're 18, 17, 18, having a kid, And then, that's just tough for anybody. Any parent to have any kid is just tough in general. It's just a journey, right? You're taking care of somebody else. And I saw those difficult moments. I saw those tough times paying the bills. And I think just something clicked in my head in seventh grade that was just like, hey, I never want to struggle to pay bills. I don't want to struggle to worry about if I'm going to keep the electricity on, or if I'm going to pay rent, or if I'm going to buy groceries or pay for gas. And so a big part of why I do what I do it really is a monetary thing for people, right? It's have the option to not have to struggle and learn a skill that allows you to have freedom in your life, financial freedom. Of course, you have to take care of your money when you get it, right? So that's a whole different story. But I want to show people that there are other options in this life besides the traditional things that you've heard, or maybe the few options that you have. Coming from Tulsa, Oklahoma, there's not a ton of options in it for work, right? And it's a smaller town. It's not a small town, but it's smaller, and it's not like living in Los Angeles or New York City where you just bump into opportunity, right? And so I want to show people all over the world that wherever you come from, you don't have to struggle. There's so much opportunity in tech, specifically in Salesforce. So that's my driving force. Yeah, hopefully that helps out with that.
Great answer. Thank you.
My mind bounces to like, why Marketing Cloud? Of all the clouds you could choose, why do you love
For
marketing?
me, I just love marketing. So I actually got my degree in economics, and everyone always asks, "Why did you get your degree in economics?" And my answer is always has been this: I want to understand why people make the decisions that they make with buying products or services, right? Like I grew up, like I was saying a little bit before this, is kind of a little bit questioning why is it so difficult to pay for gas, or why is it so difficult to pay for electricity. But at the same time, people sometimes didn't have a problem with going to the mall and buying some Abercrombie, or buying some clothes. And I was always questioning, wondering what's going on with that, what's the decision making behind that, right? And I've just been a psychology type of person that's always just been interested in why people make decisions. And honestly, marketing is all psychology. And I know Marketing Cloud there's a lot of tech heavy things related to Marketing Cloud, but I like to combine the tech with the psychology. And I think Sales Cloud is great as well, because I love sales as well. But I love marketing. I just think marketing is about beliefs. You're instilling beliefs into people. And I believe that if you change your beliefs, you can change your life. And I heard a quote, something, I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, the things we believe, we question, right? Like we kind of believe it, so we question it. But the things we truly believe, we never even think to question, right? And so, what sort of beliefs are you operating on that are moving you towards the life you're living? And I believe marketing is so underrated in that aspect. And so I've always just wanted to stay in the marketing realm and just keep on learning marketing in general and marketing technology, because I believe it really does have the power to change people's lives if you can help change their beliefs in a positive way, right? There's positives to it. Yeah. I try to employ that in anything that I build in Marketing Cloud, but I also try to instill that whenever I'm teaching people Marketing Cloud, and I try to instill that holistic belief pattern that I have, is that, hey, when you change your beliefs, you change what you believe you're worthy of. You can have this certification in Marketing Cloud. You can have this career. You can have this lifestyle. So it's bigger than just the marketing technology, but yeah, hopefully I get super deep into these types of things, but hopefully that helps.
I love the psychology side of it, because you're so right. If you can get that marketing campaign just perfect and it resonates with people, then that's half the battle, isn't it? But
Yeah.
something that I noticed that you had put on your LinkedIn was that you said too much AI junk in the world. What does
Yeah.
that mean? What does that even mean? And have you got any specific AI tools that you now use since saying that?
Yeah. I think there's two trains of thought on that. AI junk in the sense of there's just a lot of, once again, it goes back to some marketing is it's dirty marketing. It's marketing that's meant to scare people. It's fear tactics. It's things that are meant to make people make quick, rash decisions. And so when I think of junk AI fluff or marketing tactics, I'm thinking of that specifically, of the people that are out there trying to fear monger you into taking their course or into, doing something that isn't in your best interest, but is in that person's incentives interest. The other side is the AI junk being kind of like, if you have bad data, this is more from a technical perspective, right? It's if you have bad data going in, you're going to have bad information going out, right? Or bad outputs. But that also even goes into not just the data that you're pouring into the AI, but it also goes into what sort of prompt are you putting in there? Are you just telling the AI, hey, just do my life for me, right? And it's like, wait, hold on, I have no context about who you are and what you care about as a person, right? And so even that prompt engineering perspective of, if you're not being extremely specific, even in your own thought process, you're never going to get the output you're looking for, even without AI, right? Even if you were to talk with a career coach in person, they wouldn't be able to help you if you don't know what you're looking for. So I think it's both things that I'm thinking of there. You have to be very clear in thought. You got to take time to write, think, go on walks, meditate, put your phone down, right? There's so much thinking that still needs to be done, even when you're using AI, whether it's someone trying to sell you on their newest course or this newest workflow or AI is going to take over the world type of thing like that, right? It's like, okay, hold on. Let's pause. Let's think about things for a second, right? Put the phone down, go out on a walk, look around you. Is the world being taken over by robots right now, right? And it's like, just think for yourself, right? There's a lot of fear mongering out there, and fear is a very useful tactic for a lot of marketers to get people to make decisions and move in a certain direction. And so my main thing is just think for yourself. And so for me, you asked also the follow-up question, which is what sort of tools am I using? I'm using a lot of the LLMs, all four of the main ones. So you've got Gemini, Claude, Grok, and ChatGPT. I use those pretty much every single day. I've used other tools like Replit, Base44 to help you vibe code certain apps, and started to dabble more in the cursors, the AI, the code editors that are built into Visual Studio Code or GitHub, and really just honestly trying to, for me, trying to just keep up with just what's available in Claude, right? MCP servers, for example. That's the new API basically, right? And so just trying to fully understand, how do I connect Claude to, maybe it's like my most recent one was connecting Claude to Indeed to kind of look at what jobs are available, and just have the AI surface that for me, and then use that to tell me what jobs are available, how long have they been up, what are the different company sizes, and just make a matrix for me, also to do market research. And it's just a lot of, I think I try to use a new use case every single day. Like right now, just even studying for an exam, right? Am I using the old tactics, the old ways to study for exams? Whereas I could potentially create a unique prompt that's specific to myself and how I learn, to teach me real world use cases that are resonating with me, right? Like for someone who might like the NBA or the NFL, or maybe they like ballets and they like orchestras, there may be a completely different use case for how you're studying for an exam in the Salesforce world that resonates with something that you already know. So I try to make prompts that are unique to myself to help me learn different things, and try to get as detailed and specific as possible to see the output I'm looking for. And it goes back to that. Are you thinking about the way that you're preparing for an exam? Or are you thinking about what you're trying to do when you're doing market research and what output you're trying to receive? And then are you iterating whenever you realize, wait, that's not what I was looking for. I'm actually looking for this. So I'm going to go back and change my prompt, or I'm going to change the data that I'm feeding. And that's what I mean by the whole junk AI type of thing is, are you truly thinking about everything you're doing in the process as you're trying to achieve a certain end result? Or are you just throwing something out there, hoping the answer is just given to you, and then you just get to the somehow magically get to the destination, right? And so, yeah, that's really my thought process. I'm using all four of the large language models, dabbling into some different things. I've used a lot of other smaller AI tools for just smaller projects, but I would say those are the four main LLMs that I'm using. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So
Thank
why do you use the different four? How do you use them in different ways?
Yeah. So honestly, for me, it's to see, number one, it's to see if I put, this is always the baseline for me. It's if I put the same prompt into all four, I want to see, number one, how they respond in different ways, just
Mhm.
in terms of just the way that they're thinking about giving an answer. And I also like to see how one LLM might know me a different way, so it responds and it gives me a certain answer. And I think to myself, then you kind of have to see, does it have as much context as the other LLM, right? Because now they're starting to get to the point to where they say, hey, based on this type of information that we know about you, this is what's best. Claude will sometimes tell me, hey, you're going in the wrong direction, or you're overthinking this because you told me 2 weeks ago you didn't want to do this specific thing. And so it's
you. Love
like
that.
I'm like, whoa, whoa there, buddy. You're my counselor now, and then, whereas something like Grok, I don't use as much as I would probably use a Gemini or a Chat GPT. Those are my top two right now. Whereas Claude has a very great memory, and Grok will just spit out an answer sometimes that's like, it's not relevant to what I'm looking for because it doesn't have that context because I'm not feeding it the information as often. So I kind of am looking at it to see over time how they just track with my journey, but also just kind of how they're giving responses. So those are the top two reasons. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think you're almost adding the psychology into it.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
it's interesting, isn't it? We found a great product called Launch Lemonade that has the different LLMs embedded in it, rather than have to pay separate licenses for everything, which from a work point of view, obviously is more cost effective for us to support as a team. Do you pay for licenses for the different LLMs, or have you found a similar tool that gives you access to a few under one house?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've run into different tools that I'm starting to see that that's going to be more of the norm, is that you're going to be working with one tool that surfaces all of the LLMs at once. I haven't found a specific LLM, so I'm curious, what did you say that LLM is? All right, let me answer your question first, and then so the answer to your question is yes, I do pay for. I have a Yeah, now that you ask me that, I actually pay for all four of those. Yeah. I don't pay the super expensive ones, but like the super expensive version, but I do pay for the pro access, I guess you could say is what it is. But yeah, I am curious to hear which tool you were mentioning that has all four of those.
Yeah, so we found Launch Lemonade. And so you create the brain in there, so you can upload all of your company information, or you can have a personal version of it, and create your brains and add any skills or knowledge. But then you can ask the same prompt, but evolve the LLM that you choose. So it has all the LLMs built into it. Because everybody always says to me, oh, this LLM for this LLM for that. And I'm like, oh my God, well, this is going to cost me a fortune if I have to buy all these licenses for myself and then my team. Plus, I want to make sure it's all secure. So actually, Launch Lemonade is one that we've started using, and we're rolling out different, it's been great actually for sort of speeding up some of our tasks as a team. But I didn't know if other people had found similar products like that.
Yeah. No, this is good. This is going to now take me down a whole rabbit hole of like these types of
Let me know
tools.
what you think.
Yeah, I will. Thank
Oh.
you.
And are you embedding AI within Marketing Cloud then? Are you using AI within the actual Marketing Cloud solution when you're working with clients?
Yeah, that's something that I'm building in more and more as I get more into Data Cloud and Marketing Cloud next, and start building more agents out. Right now, It's not super heavy. We're just building the infrastructure right now, just trying to ingest data from different sources, make sure we have the architecture set up. But yeah, I'm really at the starting point of that. I can't say that I've built and orchestrated multiple agents out to do these a ton of different things yet, but a lot of it, as you probably have seen, even just on LinkedIn or wherever it's at, is you have to make sure your infrastructure is set up the right way first. So we're just, working on that, just making sure the clients that I'm working with, their infrastructure is set up the right way. And they're actually ready and they have a data governance process to make sure that there's a consistent experience. They're not manually uploading CSV files when they feel like it. They're pulling data directly from, Salesforce through Marketing Cloud Connect to pull data into Marketing Cloud, and all their data is being sourced from the same locations in the same way at the same time each time. And you have to have a good data governance process. There has to be a structure for how you're doing things. And so right now, a lot of my work is built around basically those types of conversations. And then I think as time goes on and organizations start to get more mature in that, you'll start to see a lot more use cases, or at least I'll start to see a lot more, but haven't built a ton in Marketing Cloud just yet around the agentic side of things. But definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, definitely.
And
And I'm curious.
how are you finding the new Marketing Cloud tool to to the previous one?
So I actually haven't used Marketing Cloud Next.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't used it
Roadmap.
yet. I've used Data Cloud or Data 360, but yeah, it's mainly Data 360. People are starting to use Marketing Cloud Next. I'm starting to get my hands into there, but I haven't been able to really, haven't had a project in it yet. Lots, and I think it's funny because a lot of people are like, yeah, Marketing Cloud Next is up, but everybody still uses Marketing Cloud Engagement that I've worked with. So yeah, and there are people who are starting to use Marketing Cloud Next, but yeah, we'll just let time go on, and only time will tell with that one.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking for a quick tip for
Mhm.
all of our learners. It would just be really interesting to know from an instructor's perspective what you think is the biggest habit. You've trained people from all different backgrounds, including your mum and sister. So what tip would you give to a great habit that people can do when they're learning something new?
Pomodoro technique. If you haven't heard of it, it's a little tomato timer. It's like, I think it comes from I forget exactly what it is, but I think of a little tomato timer when I think of the Pomodoro technique. But it's basically just set a 45-minute timer. And I did this all throughout college. This is how I got I'm very upset I didn't get a 4.0. So I can't say 4.0, but this is when I would get the best grades in college. This is when I would pass certifications the fastest. This is when I would learn a new concept the fastest. It's always set a 45-minute timer and just lock in, right? Put headphones on, just cut out all the distractions and focus on that one task. It can be for a certification prep, or it could just be for your job and you're just trying to learn something new and you're trying to get a task done. But 45-minute timer. And then once that 45-minute timer goes off, give yourself permission to stop right where you're at. Get up, set the timer for 15 minutes, go on a walk. Don't look at your phone. Don't do anything. Let your brain digest all the stuff you just consumed and learned. Go for a 15-minute walk, drink some water, talk with a friend, and then set another 45-minute timer and do that process one more time. That's all you have to do. Just do that twice a day. Do two 45-minute sessions and just do that for a consistent period of time. Obviously, if you want to get something done faster, increase the amount of, 45-minute sessions that you have per day. But yeah, unblocked, focused, deep work it's so underrated, and it's an art, and yeah, it will move mountains for you. And yeah, the world needs
Thank
more deep work.
That's great. I love a tip. Thank you.
Not doing that, and maybe I'll condition myself to do the 15 minutes of a hit workout because
Yeah,
I need
exactly,
to
right?
discipline myself to do the hit workout. My partner's very good at doing that 15 minutes a day, and I'm like, where do you find the time? But it's amazing how we can just waste time. So I really like the idea of being very, it sounds like, Kaelan, because of your background with sport, everything else, you're very conditioned into how you work and how you train. So I think we can all learn a lot from you today. So
Well,
really appreciate the tips and thank you so much for your inspiring journey. And I'd love to interview your mum. I
yeah, I
want
know,
to hear
right?
her side of the story.
Yeah. I just got off the phone with her, so I'll let her know if that's
Yeah, prep her to say we've heard Keelan's side, now we want to hear your side. How did it get
yeah.
to the marketing cloud?
Love that.
That would definitely inspire our mums. So we need that. We need that other side of the story, I think, for our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, this was so, I'm so grateful that you're doing this, and the community definitely needs it. So I know a lot of people have questions about all the Golden Hoodie winners. And yeah, I think this is going to be a huge hit. Let me know whatever I can do to support this through, with whatever I need to post on social media, or, who I can help and reach out to. So, yeah, I think it's a great initiative.
Exactly. It's all about inspiring people every day, isn't it? And I think you've all got amazing stories to share that haven't been out there in the world yet. So, really glad that you could make the time with us today. I know it's 9 o'clock for you, so you've got a rest of the day ahead of you. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you, Keelan, and hopefully we'll one day meet up at a Salesforce event in the future. But thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks,
Thanks.
Heather. Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast show. Thank you for listening to the Mums on Cloud 9 podcast today. We're delighted to have you here, and we can't wait to help you have a career in life that you love. We launched the podcast because we wanted to help women get insight into inspirational stories, advice, and experts from people around the world. Over the last few years, we've spoken to many people who've shared insights, and we want you to learn and to benefit from this to accelerate your own career. Please do share the podcast show and what we do at Supermums with anybody else you know who you feel could benefit too. We want to say thank you once again for joining us, and please do let us know how you get on and what you go on to achieve after listening to the show today.